One sunny day, George the monkey and his friend the man with the yellow hat were walking through the city. They stopped at a little shop filled with wonderful gadgets and machines. Inside, a kind man named Adrian was hard at work. "Hello there, George," said Adrian with a smile. "I'm working on something special today, a Sorak IQ20. It's an old computer and I'm trying to fix it." George's eyes lit up. He loved machines, even if he didn't always understand how they worked. He climbed onto a stool to get a better look as Adrian pointed to the Sorak screen. It was round and shiny like a bubble. "This screen, called a CRT, has a problem," Adrian explained. "It's all foggy, something called cataracts. But don't worry, George, I think I can fix it. I even found a replacement screen." George clapped his hands. He wanted to help, so Adrian let him hold some of the tools. George loved feeling like a little mechanic. Adrian brought out a new screen he had found. "This might work," he said, "but first we have to test it." George watched as Adrian hooked the screen up to a special machine. Adrian explained things like voltages and connections. George didn't understand all the big words, but he listened closely. "Great news," Adrian said after the test. "This screen will work with the Sorak. Now we just need to install it." George watched as Adrian carefully removed the old screen. He held on to the screws Adrian handed him, making sure not to drop any. When the new screen was in place, Adrian smiled. "Okay, George, now comes the moment of truth. Let's see if it works." "Cross your fingers, George," Adrian said. George eagerly crossed his little monkey fingers as the Sorak buzzed and whirred. Then, pop! A bright white cursor appeared on the screen. George jumped up and down with excitement. "It works!" Adrian cheered. "The new screen is a little blurry, but I can fix that." Adrian turned some tiny knobs on the back of the machine. George watched as the screen got sharper and brighter. It was like magic, but then, clunk, a tiny clamp fell onto the computer's insides. "Oops!" Adrian exclaimed. "That could have been a disaster!" He quickly fixed it, and George handed him a screwdriver to help. After some final adjustments, the Sorak was back together. Adrian stepped back and admired their work. "No more cataracts, and it looks great. What do you think, George?" George clapped his hands and let out a happy squeal. He thought the computer looked brand new with its shiny screen. As they cleaned up, Adrian said, "Thank you for your help, George. You're a great little assistant. And who knows, maybe one day we'll fix the old screen too." George smiled, proud of his work. Fixing machines was tricky, but it was so much fun he couldn't wait to see what exciting project Adrian would work on next. With George's curious spirit and Adrian's know-how, the Sorak was saved and George learned a little more about the wonderful world of machines.